This is Future Focus Worcester. I'm Ernie Floyd, and this is the Unity 979, Worcester's Community Connection. The Future Focus Worcester program will feature a segment that will feature a city councilor as well as a school committee member right here in the city of Worcester. And we're going to ask a series of questions in reference to how they're going to move the city forward when it involves government and also involves education. Joining us now is Ojeda, and he's a city councilor right here in the city of Worcester. Louis, welcome to Future Focus Worcester.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. As you know, you and I go way back, a long time.
Yeah.
We work with the youth together. I think our stint was going back to the Boys and Girls Club days, right?
Correct.
Ionic Ave, remember that?
Yeah. You had your studio up there, and it was really good to see the kids be able to go up and just be a part of something different. You know, at the Boys and Girls Club, it was the games room, the swimming pool, education room, but then you had your show, and it was good for them to just see, you know, a different aspect of life.
Yeah, I like to thank Vincent at the time, and he gave me an opportunity because he said at the time the kids that were at that age were leaving, and hopefully through that program that I was hosting that they were coming back, and that was able to create some retention there as well. And as you know, the Boys and Girls Club today is not the Boys and Girls Club of back then, meaning the building itself. The building is
correct.
They've moved since then.
Yeah.
Of that nature. So you're here for the Future Focus Worcester program. I really appreciate it. Once again, this is the Unity Radio, Unity 979. I'm Ernie Floyd, and we're going to talk about the infrastructure that's taking place here in the city of Worcester when it comes to education. So let's begin with the three questions: the infrastructure and capacity. As Worcester continues to grow, how is it the school committee planning to adapt school infrastructure and staffing to support the influx of new families over the next 5 years?
So this is a question for me as a counselor, or
Yes.
That's a tricky one because I do work for the schools.
Yes.
And can you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. That's no problem. No problem. What I'll do basically is I'll even do it one better. I'll give you a city council question. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This is what we'll do. Sustainable infrastructure and housing. Similar almost in nature,
Mhm.
but we'll go to this page, right? As Worcester continues to grow, what specific initiatives are you supporting to ensure new development includes affordable housing while also building sustainable and walkable neighborhoods? How's that?
Great question. Great
Okay.
question. And I don't mind answering the other one. If we have time, we'll go back to answering the
Okay.
other one. Just trying to first and foremost connect with a lot of the developers that come into the city, into the district. The city manager has been really big in supporting me and making sure that I meet with these developers, so they have a better understanding of the neighborhood they're coming into to build versus just building whatever they think is necessary or needed in the neighborhood. So my goal and plan has always been to making sure residents meet with some of these developers, the building owners, on, you know, some of the things that they want to see in the neighborhoods, what type of building, what type of housing, and most importantly, we want them to be good neighbors. Who are you going to be bringing into the neighborhood and what you're focused on? So, focus on a lot of that inclusionary zoning. Also, working. We had an issue. I shouldn't say an issue, but we had a back and forth most recently with the stretch code and understanding, how there could be some issues with trying to get some more housing on the market as soon as possible. So working with the city manager and creating, better policy in place. All of that was obviously created before I became a counselor. So some of the stuff I'm still learning as well. But it's being supportive in that way. I've been a part of some of the tiny homes. There's actually a groundbreaking coming up. There's going to be tiny homes on Claremont Street, right down the street from Claremont Academy. Dr. Castillo was a big component in that. And then working with SMOC and some of the housing they're doing. They're renovating the MLK building on the second floor to provide more housing for some of the unhoused and helping them, get situated, get their, self situated. And then also working with the resource center. We just did a groundbreaking last week, about a week and a half ago, about that. Again, to provide some more shelter, to provide some more help for individuals in need.
It seems though the city of Worcester is scrambling to put together housing, and more now than before, which is interesting. As you know, we just talked about earlier how you and I were involved with the Boys Club and how we involved with the city of Worcester for a long time. And I can't recall back then housing was like an issue. You had housing, you had your challenges, but now it seems as though that anywhere that you can find a lot, if you will, in any community, any neighborhood, something is being pressed to see if they can put something there. And I noticed that when I drive through Main South and other different neighborhoods, the do you take in consideration the 3-family, and then you have a lot next to that 3-family, and all of a sudden you see a modern building?
Correct.
Do you take in consideration the landscape and how the neighborhood is shaping, how it's looking?
Yes, definitely. That's. I'm glad you said that. That's one of the things I feel as though us as counselors, we need to make sure we focus on in those neighborhood meetings, is to make sure. I've been to several of them within my first 3 years, in meeting with the developers and get a better understanding of. It is their land; they own the property, so they can build as long as it's suitable for the space that's there. But also to make it look like the rest of the neighborhood. We don't want something that's sticking out like a sore thumb, or that's not focused on the same population or the same community that's there now. So that's something that we've been making sure we push back on. Again, I'm really focused on making sure residents know. You know, we were working with on Green Island. There was some developers over there. On Grand Street, same thing on Grand Street. And then again, working with Smock and some other areas as well, to make sure that whatever they're building, it builds to suit the neighborhood, not just their pockets or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I understand that rent control has been pushed as well, which I find kind of interesting. Rent control, as far as, it's almost like you're limiting someone's income, limiting the income coming in to support that entity. I would think that you would put expense control, stop the expenses from going high. So then that will stop the income from coming high, because you need the income from those residents to support those expenses. So if the gas is not high, okay. If the electricity is not high, okay. And the other different expenses that acquire to that property and maintaining that property, then I don't think the rent would have to be that high, because the reason of the rents being high is because it has to meet those expenses. So why is it not an effort? And this is not part of the questioning, but since we're on housing, I find it interesting that there got to be a way to like curb some of the expediency of how people are experiencing some of these expenses.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we try to do as counselors, and we understand we have the 2 separate taxes, right? We have the commercial and residential. You know, some people prefer us to have one tax, but that'd be really tough. But there's in that to somewhat answer your question. You know, the expenses are the expenses, and it's tough to, you know, some of that stuff is out of our control. But we're just trying to find ways to help our residents, if they're business owners or whatever it may be, to work with the city manager and figure out how we can do rebates or grants and stuff like that for homeowners.
Okay, let's go into the second question. And Louis Ojeda, he's a city school counselor, is joining us. And the first question I asked was, as Worcester continues to grow, what specific initiatives are you supporting to ensure new development includes affordable housing while also building sustainable and walkable neighborhoods? We talked about that. The next question is economic opportunity. What steps is the council taking to ensure that local, minority-owned, and small businesses directly benefit from the city's ongoing redevelopment projects? I
think one of the approaches I've taken,
I think this is close to you.
Yeah, it is real close. I actually have a ribbon cutting today for the 65th anniversary of Rob Roy, and they'll be getting a key to the city. And I also have a meeting today at 6 o'clock for Millbury Street business owners to get a better idea on what's going on the business side. I have a really good idea of what's going on the outside of it throughout the day, but you know, what can we do as a city to support this this part of the city where when I was young was vibrant. There was a lot going on, a lot of business going on, and there's a lot of business now, right? But it's also a business corridor that I feel as though we really need to bring some more energy, some more focus, some more ideas. So that's the idea for me, is to connect with them, connect with the city, and figure out what the city offers that can help them along the way. I've done this work with Mass Development TDI on Pleasant Street. We did a lot of changes on Pleasant Street. If you've gone down Pleasant Street, there's a lot of signage on Pleasant Street. A lot of the storefronts have changed. The facade has changed. Some of the stores don't have the gate in the windows anymore. So it's just, again, trying to incorporate more people in the community, in the neighborhoods, to be involved in their neighborhood and purchase in their neighborhoods versus, you know, buying from the big markets.
Yeah, that community has definitely changed from Pleasant Street. You can far as go as Benefit Street, and that corridor goes. I would say the corridor. We'll say Pleasant Street and Irving Street near the administration building,
correct,
and going all the way down up over the hill down and Piedmont Street and going. You can see those changes in there with the various different businesses. To Ed Hyder's,
correct.
He started it years ago.
Correct.
God rest. And And then you had the bagel company come in off of Park Ave,
Yeah, bagel time. Yeah.
all the way to Pleasant Street. So there has been some changes,
Yeah.
and also the new business that has come in through the plaza there,
Yeah, the supermarket there.
the supermarket
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
like that, and more coming in there, and that shows a good sign, and it must be a good feeling for the residents that are there, that are occupying those residents in that particular corner. That's not the same locate, not same look, if you will, as it was back in the day, and also the climate has changed. I don't hear as much going on. Not to say it doesn't, but there are some activities that in that particular corridor, but it's actually changing due to the new businesses that are there as well.
I'll add one more thing too. Councilor King has he's working on diversity audit of businesses and small businesses, tax exemption on personal property tax. So being taxed on what they personally own within the building versus what the bigger businesses are being taxed on, and if that's been equitable. So he's asked for an audit on that, which I believe is something that's it's been needed for a while now.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think the city of Worcester is so attractive now than it was back in the day? It's always been neck and neck when it comes to Providence as far as population goes.
Mm-hmm.
In some instances, Worcester would win as far as population goes, and then Providence would come right back. But right now, it's a huge stretch for Worcester to supersede Providence and being the second largest city here in Massachusetts.
I think again, prior to me, I think there was a big focus, obviously, with the ballpark, right? That's made a difference on trying to bring some more attention in what's going on in the city. And it's also a great. I mean, we've been here forever. I think Worcester's finally starting to show its cultures, its ethnicity, the greatness, and all the sports that we have through Worcester, with it being baseball. People always go back and forth. Is it a baseball town or a basketball town? I think it depends on who's talking and if you're a basketball player or a baseball player. But it just has so much history behind it, and I think the city has an opportunity to use that history to bring more people into the city and really enjoy what we have to offer.
Yeah, and speaking of the climate, it's kind of interesting. Before you were in office, and once you were been a resident here for a long time, and just the talk you can tell by the council back then when they had the discussion, and even the people here in the city of Worcester, it's almost like they couldn't get out of their way, and they always would second guess themselves, and you just felt that funk, here in the atmosphere when it came to the city of Worcester. Didn't take themselves seriously, and they were always behind Boston. And now you don't hear that talk anymore. And also in the press, in the media would write the stories and about Worcester and how it's like trying to be something and that it's not, and so forth. And we always hear those stories, in the residents here was always kicking themselves. City council, you can hear it. If you play back some of those sessions, hear them kicking themselves. But you don't hear that anymore, do you?
No. I think we still got a long way to go, but I think the city manager understands where we're at, and he's doing a great job on making sure there are certain things in our city that I've said to him over and over again, is that things were the way they were before we took our positions, before he became a city manager, before I became a councilor. And one of my goals is to make sure that it's not left like that after we leave. And I think he's been real focused on making sure some of that stuff, obviously the making sure the cleanliness of the city that has changed, a clean team and the quality of life team has made a big difference on the city, but also bringing in businesses that help, with jobs and again, being good neighbors to the city.
Yeah, and also the makeup of the city is also reflected in the council as well. A lot of diversity. You can go back a number of years. You can see the diversity just wasn't there. It was always the communities were changing. The population was changing when it comes to ethnicity, but the council wasn't changing. But now it is.
Yeah. I mean,
or it has.
Yeah, definitely. You see it. You see it in a lot of you see it in a lot of the organizations, the nonprofit organizations. Some of the executive directors are people of color as well, and then you see it in the schools as well. A lot of teachers are starting to become people of color, administrators as well. So I think that's important. I think our city needs to be shown not just what's going on inside the walls, but on the outside as well. So everywhere you go, you see the difference in the change.
Yeah, and science has proven, and the statistics have proven that too. When a young person, when they see those administrators and they see those supervisors or those leaders as well, it reflects a lot on them. And when it comes to their growth, and later on in life, they look back and they always reflect back of the experience of that particular person who made a difference in their life. Yeah,
yes, definitely, most definitely. I mean, a lot of people that I look back to when I was younger, were leaders in their own right. So I feel as though, that's a responsibility that I have now that I'm in this position and also an assistant principal. I must, if I tell students they have to lead a certain way, I have to make sure I'm stepping in the same direction that I'm preaching to them.
Yeah, and it will hold you accountable too, more than anything else.
They will.
The third question: community and transit connectivity. Looking ahead, how can we better connect our neighborhoods to downtown, biotech, and educational hubs through improved public transportation and cycling infrastructure?
Yeah, Council Bellata does a lot of work in his committee. He's hosting 4 public hearings about the improvement of WRTA, with the first one taking place on the 21st, 25 Meade Street. Each will be at a different location throughout the city. So instead of having residents come to City Hall, we'll be going to them. I think that's the best way to be able to get a better understanding of what people want and need. And we're also focused on trying to get some more surveys done throughout the city on public transportation. How has it been? We have students that take the public transportation throughout the city, and it's how are they taking it? Is it one student? One story they told me it'll take them almost 2 hours to get to school, and it's like you live about a half hour away from the school. As it takes so long, it's because of the going to the hub, and then from the hub you have to catch this bus, and then you have to wait for that bus, and if that bus is run, whatever it may be. So it takes them so much longer. They're better off walking, to be honest with you. But it's bringing all parties in together, right? You have the MBTA, the WRTA, and just public transportation throughout the city as well. So it's just trying to make sure that everybody's involved, and how do we better our city with that? It's not just us as councilors saying, "Oh, this is what we think is best," because at the end of the day, it's what the residents want.
Yeah, and that's really important, especially the fact that you talk about the transportation part. Whereas, being assistant principal education, if you're late, you're late. It counts against your education.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Huge. And also, it'll count against you if you're absent as well. And it'll count if you have even if you have a doctor's appointment. There's no excuse absences anymore. Everything is. You want to talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
parents find that kind of confusing because they say, "Hey, I'm a little bit late because I had a legitimate excuse,"
correct.
if you will.
Right. And I think that's the better understanding of what excuse is versus the doctor giving you the okay of missing a day of school. Right. At the end of the day, you're telling us where you were. So you're still late, but you're telling us where you were.
Okay.
Right. Versus the doctor saying, okay, you need to be out of school for a certain amount of days for whatever reason. Then that's an excuse. Each school is different. I'm not going to knock any school. And I think it's just more, understanding who the student is. If it's a chronic student, obviously being late, obviously, then that's an issue. But if it's a one-off, a student being late here or there, then there's no big issue with that. But attendance is so important. It's so important. I think we really need to find a way to hit the message home to parents of them understanding. And I'm not blaming parents. I just want them to understand the importance of a student being into class. The first 15 minutes of class is where they settle in, they hear the lecture, teachers are trying to, get themselves situated, and then the class starts. A student comes in 15 minutes late, even if it's second period of the day or whatever it may be, that puts that student behind, it puts the teacher behind, and then it has potentially put other students behind. So it's understanding that, getting to school on time is so valuable for your child's learning and education, and just for their own betterment of being in school and not being that kid that's late and then having to have a meeting or having to have to stay after school to make up time and things like that.
Yeah. And you're talking, once again, Louis Ojeda is trying to ask. He's a city councilor here in the city of Worcester, and we're talking about the 3 questions. And this is Future Focus Worcester. I'm Ernie Floyd, right here, Unity 979. And I'm going to go back to the first question so that those who are just joining us, sustainable infrastructure and housing, asked a question about that, economic opportunity, and also asked about the community and transit connectivity. It all works. And it also works in the sense that you answered all the questions. I appreciate that. And all the city councils are getting the same question. So there's no, I got you, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. We just want to be informative because it's very important that the city's moving very fast. And we want to make sure that we have our parents and our community leaders and everyone to be in the same mode as the fact that with this movement, because the fact that if you're not in this mode and getting involved in this movement, you're going to be left behind. And we have some absentee people who just figure that, I can't make a difference. This doesn't pertain to me. I would say that more now than ever, everything pertains to you. And when we have our meeting, a next session with the school committee, and I'll explain why.
Yeah, I think, one thing I'll say as a counselor and what I've learned is the most important thing when you say someone feels as though they, I can't give an hour of my time or whatever it may be, or an hour is not enough, I should say. An hour is enough. You can attend a committee meeting. Those committee meetings are so important, right? Traffic and parking, believe it or not, like those are important. You have Councilor King is the chair of the school committee meetings. Then you have public health, public safety. Those meetings are so important because residents have an opportunity to sit down and be more of a roundtable discussion versus coming on Tuesday night, you speak for your 2 minutes and then you're done. You go to a committee meeting, that's where the work is done. So you and I are counselors, we sit down and we talk about certain things. You can have, what is a resident come in, they can come up to the table, sit with us and come up with some ideas and stuff like that, where we can bounce things back and forth with each other. So, that's a great idea. You can ask for a report back, or that's something that we can push to other counselors. That's where the work is done. And that's something that I've stressed, and I'm hoping more residents can be more involved, get some more of the information out, maybe send it to you as well, so you understand when those dates are and you can share it, with your social media and stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back really quick before we leave. Is the fact that you just said something when it comes to parents being involved. They have to be involved in the sense that you mentioned the fact that City Hall is going to the community versus asking the community to come to City Hall. It makes sense to go to the community because the community with those residents, they live there. It's important that those residents speak up at that particular time.
Correct.
And be proactive and not allow and wait till something happens and then you want to protest and say this is not right and that's not right. Well, one of the ways to prevent that is to be proactive. Have the city halls come to your neighborhood, find out what's going on, put your input in. You don't want City Hall deciding what they believe or they think because the statistics say that neighborhood needs. You want to go by what the people are there and do a combination of both. And I remember back in the day when they used to have the mayor's walk, and you have the city superintendent was there, the chief of police was there, the city manager and the mayor, and everybody would walk the neighborhoods collectively together, and the people, the residents as well. And they would pick out and point out some things of interest or challenges they would have. And it'd be nice if they bring that back.
Yeah, we've had several mayor walks. I've done many walks as a city council. I've done walks by myself just throughout the district. And that's important, right? Letting residents know that your voice is important. You're being heard. If you can't attend neighborhood meetings, how do we, get you involved? Either it be on Zoom or come knocking on your door. But I don't want any residents feeling as though that they're not able to have a voice. Their voice matters, even if they don't vote, right? You live in the city, you're choosing to live here, you've raised generation after generation after generation, you matter. And that matters to me, and it should matter to the other councilors, and I believe it does. But that's the most important thing, is finding ways to get more residents involved in their communities, whether it be neighborhood cleanups, whether it be attending some of the neighborhood meetings, or even parents just attending some of the stuff that goes on at school, the after school programs and things like that, just so they can be more involved. Plus, for me as an administrator, when their child sees their parent in a different light at their school or helping out in the community, that's their first role model growing up. The child's first role model is their parent or their older brother or older sister. So we can continue to put them in those positive environments, then you just continue to breed that over and over again.
Yeah. Also, hey, thank you for joining me on Future Focus Worcester. I really appreciate you sharing that input in regards to where the city is moving. What district are you in, or are you at large, or you have a district?
District 4.
District 4, quickly, before we go, is made up of?
Oh, it's made up of, you got Elm Park area, you got Highland Street, you have Southbridge Street, Millbury Street, the other side of Main Street going across that way. You have the other side of Polo Park, so Lamartine Street, Crompton Park area. You got College Hill up by Holy Cross. Like I said, Southbridge Street, Rotman's area, Park Ave, Main Street, Pleasant Street.
That's a nice district.
Piedmont Street. Yeah, it's really dense, filled with, as you know, a lot of culture, ethnicity. It's fun. I believe it's the heart of the city.
Continuing to make a difference. Thank you once again, Louis Ojeda, District 4.
District 4.
Thank you for joining on Future Focus. What's up, Ernie Floyd? You're listening to Unity 79, Worcester's Community Connection.
Worcester, we got you.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Q, host of the Woo 508. I'm here with
your girl Liza, Miss Consistency.
And it's your girl Chantel in the building.
Yes, y'all. Go ahead and follow us everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the Woo 508. That's THEWOO 508. Woo!
Roll me a phone. Step into the roof. Now you're in a song.
Recreation Worcester is a free year-round program for youth run by the City of Worcester. The program enriches this city's youth in athletics, arts, academics, and social-emotional learning activities. Food is provided for free of charge for all youth participating in the program. Learn more at the Worcester Recreation website, www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester. That's www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester.
We are Lions International, the world's largest service organization. We are volunteers committed to strengthening our communities and supporting those in need, one act of kindness at a time. For more than a century, Lions have been serving a world in need, right here in our community and around the world. Lions International makes the impossible possible. This is your invitation to join us, because the only thing missing from our mission to make a difference is you. Visit lionsclubs.org to find a local Lions Club near you.
Tune into the Sustainable Life with Susan Hewlett, and together we will find our way to a healthier, healing lifestyle by listening to empowering stories of overcoming our struggles. Join me, Susan Hewlett, on the Sustainable Life every Wednesday from 5 to 6 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. Worcester's Community Connection. See you soon.
You're listening to Unity Radio, Worcester's Community Connection.
This is Future Focus Worcester. I'm Ernie Floyd. Future Focus Worcester is a program where we have the opportunity to talk about, and I asked the 3 questions that are key to actionable and forward thinking when it comes to education planning here in the city of Worcester, as well as when it comes to government. And what you just heard was Louis Ojeda, District 4 City Councilor, who's just joining us and talking about the 3 questions that I asked him and how it's moving the city forward when it comes to government. Now it's time for school. Time for education. And joining us now is Dianna Biancheria, and she's joining us, and we're going to ask a series of questions when it applies to school. Welcome to Future Focus Worcester, Dianna. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And every time I talk to you and I see you, we always talk about food. Huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And what's funny is you get excited, you have all this different food that you're serving everybody, but for some reason, I'm always empty on the plate. I don't get there in time for some reason. Why is that?
I will make a deal with you.
Okay.
Sometime this week, I will drop off some calzones.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. I heard you had a reputation
it's a
on it.
good practice for me.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on Future Focus Worcester. As you know, I've known you for a long time. You've been an advocate here for the city of Worcester, not only for school committee or city council, but just the city of Worcester overall. And I thought this would be appropriate for the opportunity for us to get together and have these 3 questions on how you're moving the city of Worcester forward. Okay. So let's talk about the infrastructure incapacity. Number 1, as Worcester continues to grow, how is the school committee planning to adapt school infrastructure and staffing to support the influx of new families over the next 5 years?
First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for actually highlighting what our schools are doing today. it's very important that the community hear the good things that are happening throughout all of our school system. And we have some exciting things happening. We also have some work to do. And the only way we can do that is by hearing from the public, but not just because they feel as though something is wrong. They should feel as though different programs interest them, that would interest our students. So to get to answer your question as far as what we're doing with infrastructure, I made some notes, so forgive me when I jot down, and I have the new budget book that I just received the other day for fiscal year 2027.
No,
So
take your
I'm
time. We want all the information.
looking down at what our facilities is working towards, and they're working hard on getting repairs done. For a while, we weren't able to complete them. We were waiting in schools to have, whether it be cement on a stairway, some landscaping outside. We want it to be sidewalk appealing. So at this point, we are pretty much up to date on what we're working on.
Congratulations.
This summer, we'll be finishing the windows at Worcester East Middle, and there'll be work at majority of our schools, whether it's new roofs. As I mentioned, the windows, they're putting in new boilers in the schools that need them. They're fixing elevators. They'll be doing some outside landscaping. So there is a lot that is happening with the structures of our school. Keeping in mind, our high schools are, especially with Burncoat getting a new building, they're working on the ideas of how they want to bring in different levels of floors and what they're going to be doing for hands-on career pathways and so on at Burncoat. But we have Doherty that's brand new. So even though it's brand new, there's still things that have to be looked at and things that have to be taken care of. So, but we have a lot of elementary schools that are old. I mean, we're looking at 1900, 1920, 1930. So it takes some work. However, we've been doing that work. When you look at Grafton Street School, it looks very different. It had boards up for windows for a few years there.
I heard.
Now
I've
they,
seen it. Yeah.
now they have
Imagine
windows. So,
and they were attending school there with the boards on the window.
Mhm.
And how about the people that are traveling in and out of Worcester and ride by? They go, "Oh, is that school open or is it closed?"
exactly. And that's not something you see any longer.
Okay.
So I feel as though we're moving in the right direction and we're getting a lot done. At the same time, we're also looking at our bus routes, and that's going to affect what I would like to see. And I've spoken with the superintendent on this, and that is, instead of a 2-mile mark, maybe we should go to the 1.5.
I've heard that discussion.
Yes, and I'm hoping we can move forward. I think that it'll help the congestion of traffic. Number one, the drop off and pickup of our students, but we're also looking at school alignment. So if you start at a particular elementary school, this would be your matching middle school, this would be your matching high school. And I feel as though we've had community meetings, but we need to have people really take a look at this, and not just parents.
You mentioned the fact that the alignment's coming, and you mentioned the middle school has to match the high school, and you have to be careful because this is being exercised right now, whereas they're still trying to find out where those borderlines are, because some people are going to be experiencing the fact that they've had the luxury of sending their kids to the primary schools and then the middle schools. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be going to that neighborhood high school, and or someone may be across the street who has been going since K to 5, K to 6 with the neighbor, and by the time he gets to the 7, the 8, or the 9, it might be a different school. So there's some challenges and some questioning will be coming up, but this is where the parents have to get involved and find out what's the latest and greatest what's happening when it comes to school alignment.
Absolutely. The concern I have with this is we did have community meetings, and they were very sparse.
I
So
was going to say,
I would
heard,
like
yeah.
to be able to say that we had 20 parents, but we didn't. So you also asked about community engagement, and that's what we have to work towards. We have to have parents that are participating, because my concern with this is once the decisions are made and parents are receiving notices and letters and so on,
They're going to be
they're going
reactionary.
exactly, and it's going to be difficult to then turn around and correct what they're looking
Right.
at.
And can you imagine them coming in saying, "Hey, I didn't hear about this. I didn't know about this."
Exactly.
And you're going to say, "Well, it was." It was
we
talked about.
had
We've had
they
meetings.
had put it on the website. They put it on what we have for parent squares where parents can get their information. What I asked for was also in hard copy, send home a flyer. If nothing else, not everyone is on their computer looking at Parent Square and so on, but we hope that they're taking a look at their backpack, and in that backpack is going to be that notice that,
by the way,
there's changes.
Yeah, changes are coming, right?
Exactly.
Once again, joining us is Dianna Biancheria. She's a school committee member right here in the city of Worcester. Are you at large or you have a district?
I have District C.
District C. All right, we're going to come back to find out what District C is. And once again, I just asked the question, infrastructure and the capacity. I asked if Worcester continues to grow. How is the school committee planning to adapt school infrastructure and staffing to support the influx of new families over the next 5 years? The next question is future-ready education. What specific initiatives are being prioritized to ensure Worcester Public Schools students are prepared for the city's evolving economic landscape, particularly in the fields such as biotech and technology?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, because again, I'm going to go back to a middle school, and our middle schools, some middle schools have looked at robotics. They have made a different focus that has centered around what is in their neighborhood for employment. So when we look at Worcester East Middle, we look at North High. The biggest piece of that is the biotech park, which also includes robotics. That doesn't say that there's not robotics in those sites,
Sure.
along with UMass Medical. So what we're working towards for this year is a stronger connection with UMass. They have an office at North High School, and for a number of years, there was a solid connection.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And like anything else, it sometimes drifts in another direction.
So now you ask them to come back.
So we're bringing it all back now and taking a look at what we can do as a system, and also what we can do as community leaders to ensure that that becomes, again, a solid relationship.
Yeah, because the workplace is changing constantly, and there's a number of generations that are exiting out of employment, if you will, and the next generation has to enter in. And what a good opportunity is to educate our young people at an early age, and they're introducing the biotech, introducing the health masses and health sciences, if you will, at an early age, so that then they can just segue or smoothly transition to high school and then go into college. And hopefully there's employment immediately right there. And if these big companies want to meet and exceed to support the next generation, they have to give back, and they have to be integrated in the education process, so that then there's no gap and there's not a miss.
Well, that's the idea of it, is we can't afford to have that miss. We cannot afford to have people coming into the city of Worcester to work and then leave. We would like to see our employees at a lot of these sites, Worcester residents. So they're buying their groceries, they're buying their gas, they're using our parks, they're going to shows, they're enjoying the entertainment that we provide. And that level has to bump up. And the only way we can do that is through the school system, is to start to take our students and show them that while they're riding the bus, they don't need to wear blinders. They have to look out their window and see what is actually out there in our city.
Yeah. And you have to do a shout out to the Parks Department. There's a number huge budgets that came through over the last several years. You can see the improvement of the parks easily. I use the parks myself,
Absolutely.
and I think people outside the other towns come into Worcester and they use those parks. And they're highly visible and they're highly utilized. And I see a lot of kids at Elm Park running around. I see kids at Coles Pond running around. And I use the parks myself, and I try to push the kids out the way. I said, let me get down the slide too as well. And they push me back, and we're back and forth in reference to that. But we have a great time at the parks, and shout out to the Parks Department in reference to that. And like what you just said too, we want to make sure that it comes down to the quality of life here. And so statistically and nationally, they look at all this stuff like, okay, what's the education system like at a younger stage? What is it like at the high school stage? What is it like at the colleges? What is it like as far as its parks and recreation? And what's it look like as far as its walkability and the busing and the transportation? All that comes into. Now we're the second largest city in New England. We have to demonstrate that and demonstrate that well.
Well, I think we have a very good summer to look forward to. I understand there'll be some activity down here at City Hall for the kids. I think that's a great idea. In our parks, we'll have our water parks, but we also have, through the school department, we'll be providing breakfast and lunch every day. And we have different products that will be there, but it's not just for the kids. It'll be for anyone who comes up to the truck with children. So they'll be able to have a breakfast and a lunch at no cost. And I think that provides them some of the security that they needed when they're out at the park and they're leaving their house and they're taking their towels and they're packing whatever else they need to bring with them. So they can bring snacks, but you'll be able to pick up something while you're there.
What a relief for the families, whereas I like that consistency when it comes to meals. You don't want it to be where they only receive meals during the school time. Summertime is a long time. It's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks, depending upon how you want to count the days. And we want to make sure our children are nutritional, have those nutrients, and make sure that they're eating well.
And we are working towards also having not only healthy, but healthy community grown. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's an excellent program too, by the way. That's in the main South area. How about community engagement? The third question. Once again, Dianna Biancheria is joining us, school committee member right here in the city of Worcester. And we're having a show called Future Focus Worcester, and we're talking about how she's engaged in moving the city of Worcester forward when it comes to education. And I'm Ernie Floyd. You listen to Unity 979. So the third question is, how can community members, particularly those listening to this radio station, Unity Radio, get more involved in shaping the future of district policy in the long-term vision for Worcester schools?
Participate with your children is what I can say. We have meetings in during the day. We have them in the evening. We try to change the times to accommodate parents. We also provide childcare while you're attending the meeting. We provide pizzas for the kids and the adults. So we've tried to not only bring the community to our schools so they can see our buildings, but also to have those serious discussions that need to take place. It's not just looking at saying, this is another parent meeting and what are we going to accomplish? Many times we have awards for students. We have awards for teachers. Recognize the fact that as you look at your participation in our community, it's not only beneficial to you, but it's also beneficial to every elected official.
Yeah, the engagement is very important. We can't highly emphasize that enough because of the fact that the parents, obviously they want to be aware of what's happening with their children in school. But due to circumstances, in some instances, when the parents are working double shifts and
absolutely
there's a single parent, there's a lot of things to consider. We make it sound simple on the surface, but we're not in those homes when parents are dealing with those challenges in that sense. And Dianna, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna do a refresher again. School committee member joining us. District C. District C covers what part of the town, city of Worcester?
We have District C is Shrewsbury Street, Lake Ave, a part of Grafton Street, some of Massasoit Road, Hamilton Street, Ernest Ave, many of the side roads that are Alvarado, Coben. So it's Bell Hill going down where all the gasoline stations are. It is interesting. It's been a couple of years now with districts. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't look at other schools, but we do have priorities for the schools that we cover as a district school committee member. So I have 6. And it's very interesting because you really do have some walking to do when you want to see what the districts are and how they're mapped out. And that is different than the alignment of the school department. The districts are set up through the charter under the city of Worcester. So we're looking at a couple of our members citywide, and then we have 6 that are district.
Well, you have what they call quadrants, right? You have North High, you have Doherty, you have South, and you have Burnco. And then it breaks down after that when it gets to the middle schools and then the elementary schools. And there's a lot to cover, but we can't emphasize enough that parents more today than ever have to participate and find out where their children are going, what's being taught to them, and what they have to do to encourage them to make sure you get them to school on time. They're very strict about that. It doesn't matter if you have a doctor's appointment. I experienced I work at Thorndike Road School as a wraparound coordinator. I hear the stories, but I went to the doctor. Oh, they had a legitimate excuse. It still counts in some instances as a late or an absence, and it could affect the student's record when it comes to the education.
No, you are correct on that. We are looking, and this is why I say when we look at the buses that we provide, and by the way, we have, I think it's 15 electric buses now.
I heard. Congratulations.
So we'll see how that works. Right now, it's still on a pilot basis as far as I'm concerned. We'll see how it goes.
So we won't hear them coming this time, right?
No, I don't think so.
Because some of the, something's coming around the corner. So let's wrap it up really quick here. Once again, Dianna Biancheria is joining me here on Future Focus Worcester, and we're talking about how we're moving the city forward when it comes to actionable forward thinking, when it comes to education and planning right here in the city of Worcester. The first question I asked you was infrastructure and capacity. Then I asked you about the future ready education, community engagement as well, which is where we're at right now. So what do you see right now? One of the main challenges, there's a lot of different challenges going on, but the main thing is we have to encourage, and we can't say it enough, parents have to be aware of what's going on with the alignment, because you can bet your bottom dollar after the alignment's done, you're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to have an onslaught of people running down to DAB, they call it, the Worcester Public Schools Department, or they're going to be calling you, and you're going to say, where were you when we had these meetings? We did. We hosted at the high schools. We hosted at the middle schools. We sent out to Parent Square. We passed out flyers. We fed you. We did everything to get you to understand that this was coming. What are you going to say now? What's the future?
As far as looking at this, we're going to continue to send out flyers. We're going to have additional meetings. We're going to be adding this into presentations through the actual school committee meetings, which are held every other Thursday. So we're incorporating that discussion in several different areas in hopes that you may, as a parent, hear it not only one time, but 2 or 3 times, that it will be affecting how we move in the city for the school department.
The good news is the fact that there's a lot of youth in these neighboring neighborhoods and these communities. They attend a lot of after-school programs.
Yes,
you
they
have the
do.
YMCA, you have the YWCA, you have the United Way sponsored programs, you have Girls Inc. and the Boys and Girls Club, and then programs go on and on and on. And maybe probably it's a good idea to wrap the resources around those agencies to say, hey, look, we know our students attend your programs after school. We have them during the day, but you have them after school. Can you pass the word to those parents and or put posters up in those facilities or get information to
We
the
did
facility?
to branch out to the, many of those community areas. And quickly, I do want to mention that also this summer, baseball is now going big time as far as how we're presenting it with the help of the DA's office. Joe Early has been working with staff members of Worcester Public School to have a team A and team B. So if you didn't make the first team, you have a chance to learn how to play baseball.
Okay.
So we can't assume that everybody knows that you put the glove on and that's what happens.
Right, exactly.
So I look forward to that also. So we are branching out. We are putting the notices out there and letting the community know. But that's another exciting project that we're working on.
Well, we really appreciate that. It's not just about work, but sometimes you have to play too as well.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you. Dianna Biancheria is joining me on Future Focus Worcester. I'm Ernie Floyd, and we're talking about thinking educational planning that's taking place, forward-thinking educational planning and actual actions that's taking place in the city of Worcester, and she was able to share that with us. Thank you, Dianna Biancheria.
Thank you
for joining.
very much.
And this has been Future Focus Worcester with Ernie Floyd on Unity 979, Worcester's Community Connection.